Hi, it's Mick here, and today I'm joined with Jamie, and in this video we're going to be talking about the incredible HANCHU 7, 8 and 10 kilowatt, which is the new versions to our single phase hybrids. So Jamie, we know all the great features about our single phase units, but in a nutshell, I know we'll go over all the features, but in a nutshell, what makes this a really good unit over what we've already got?
Well, the fact is it brings all the key features and just improves upon that.
Such as much larger solar capabilities, yet still retaining its startup voltage. And for those who don't know what that means, it means ours start generating at 50 volts on the solar, which is really low. It means it'll charge for longer in the day, later in the night, and with less solar production. We live in England. Cloudy days are a given. Absolutely. Okay, so we're looking at the solar side of it, the inputs. Tell me a bit about that. I know our single range that we've got at the minute, we can have 2 strings and we can oversize compared to the size of the unit. Just tell me a bit more about this one.
So it's got 3 independent trackers versus 2. So what that means in layman's terms is if you've got different roofs on different orientations, you're not compromising on your solar production.
So even if I've got 3 roofs, east, west, south, we can do that? Of
course.
So it's got 3 trackers, so how much solar can I actually put into this unit?
Well, on the older models, the 3.65 and 6, it was 1.5 times its rating. Mm-hmm. This is double. So the 7 kilowatt can accommodate 14 kilowatts of solar, 8, 16, and the 10 can do up to 20. As solar panels improve and get stronger and have, much more power output capabilities, this machine is able to handle that.
Now, obviously we can go over multiple roofs, 3 different roofs now.
Yes.
There's always still the argument of shading. I mean, how is HANCHU getting over the shading issue?
Well, luckily we've got a great feature that comes pre-installed into these inverters called shadow scan.
Okay.
And shadow scan simply means that unfortunately when solar panels cop shading, it reduces the performance, which might only be at certain times of years. Now when shadow scan's enabled, if panels are troubled with shading, it means that it's still able to do the best solar production there is without the need for optimizers.
Oh, so that's a real good argument that we don't need optimizers anymore for solar panels.
That's exactly it.
That's cracking.
Less failure points on the roof, less to go wrong. Who wouldn't want that? And actually in more shaded conditions, you've got less devices using power. So actually it's more efficient in shaded conditions.
Yeah, so I suppose there's quite an argument that, that over years, trees are going to grow, they're going to start casting shading onto roofs.
Yes.
People have chimneys as the sun's rotating, that's going to be casting across all the roofs as well. So it's a really good feature, the fact now that, a string can be optimized and any shading panels are kind of disregarded and the rest of the string can just keep operating at its maximum.
And it's completely uncomplicated. It's turned on at the slide of a button. So if you only have shading at, 3 months of the year when the sun's a bit lower in the sky, it can just be simply turned on.
It's great.
You don't need to get up any ladders, you don't even need to leave your sofa, you can just turn it on at the slide of a button.
Okay, so one of the biggest questions that people have is, will this work in the event of a power cut? Will this produce power, keep the home powered when the power's down?
Well, on its own, the short answer is no. But with an optional accessory that we stock called the gateway, yes, it will. So the machine has the capability of that, but to enable that function, you need the gateway.
Okay, and how much power can that actually deliver to the house in the event of a power cut?
So where our smaller units were limited to 5 kilowatts, 7 kilowatts peak, these units can do 7, 8 and 10, respectively.
Okay, and the gateway can take that?
Yes, of course it can.
Excellent. And while that obviously is in the event of a power cut, the entire house is obviously still operating, the app and everything still works?
Yes, it will do.
So how does the gateway work then in the event of a power cut?
So in the event of a power cut, the gateway disconnects entirely from the grid to stop any power potentially feeding back, to workmen that are working on a broken power cable down the road. Isolates from the grid. It has to be installed with an independent earth spike, which essentially, in layman's term, means the whole house is its own mini grid for the duration of the power cut. And it does it internally, it's all automatic. And when the power supply from the network, the grid gets restored, it automatically changes back over into normal operating mode.
Right. And how long will that last in the event of a power cut?
So typical homes using between 500 watts, some less, some a bit more consecutively. And it also depends on how much battery storage you've got, what your battery storage level. But with this device, you can set a reserve level on your batteries. Okay. So if you are in a power cut prone area, you can set, let's say, 40%, or if you know in stormy weather it's going to be higher, you can set that bottom limit higher. So you'll still be able to use some energy for day-to-day operating and the rest is reserved purely for a power cut.
Okay.
And I suppose in the event of a power cut, obviously this being used as a hybrid, does that mean the solar's still going to continue working? Because I know that under certain circumstances with the DNO, that in the event of a power cut, solar has to stop producing, the inverter shuts down.
It does.
But we're saying on this, though, the PV is going to continue operating, it's going to feed the property and any excess into the batteries.
Exactly that. So without the gateway, it would have to do what a solar system would do, just cut off from the grid for safety reasons. The gateway is a device that enables the energy from your battery storage system and your solar to be able to be used by your home.
So one of the questions we always get asked is, just as obviously things are moving forwards and regulations are changing, is can this actually be installed outside? Do we need to put any weatherproofing over it? Does it need to be in any cabinets? Do we need any canopies over it?
So we do need a minimum level of protection, which can be a simple rain canopy. Obviously we stock those, or for customers who've got, you know, different types of properties, they might want something with a different design or style. As long as it meets the recommendations which are in the instruction manual and the warranty documents, then the inverters and batteries can be installed outdoors. No direct south facing sun for obvious reasons.
Okay.
And yeah, rain canopies.
And what are the IP ratings of the 7, 8 and 10?
So the 7, 8s and 10s are all IP66 rated.
Is there anything besides a canopy?
Of course, we've got multiple different options. So for our smaller 3.6, 8, 5 and 6, we do have the X3 Smart Cabinet.
Okay.
And we do have a new version in development which will be able to accommodate the larger inverters and any upcoming batteries that we may have in development.
So I guess so, if we're putting batteries outside, I mean, what's the level of protection, you know, for that battery? I mean, is it a lockable cabinet? You know, what about
secure lockable?
Yeah. And you know, a lot of these are going to be going outside where people are. You know, some of these could be installed on driveways. So what about the impact resistant of these cabinets? Are they strong enough for that?
Of course, they are impact rated, IP rated, and they offer not just an aesthetic, they also offer different protection, such as children. You know, you don't want children playing anywhere near where there's, you know, equipment with high voltages in. So ultimately the cabinets just offer a completely different level of protection from theft, impact, tamper, and little fingers.
And then obviously I'm guessing, touching on a warranty side of things, if this is installed outside and there's not sufficient coverage over the equipment and the batteries, and anything happens due to, I don't know, water ingress, constant water rain on it, will that impact the warranty?
Of course.
It will?
Of course, same with anything. And you've also got to take into account British weather. IP rating is not British weather rating. You get frost on it, heat on it. You know, these are quite large devices. So they are IP rated. You can throw a bucket of water on this. So basically,
in a nutshell, even though they're IP66, we recommend over the units that have a canopy and batteries, put them in a cabinet.
Yes, of course. Just protect it from the worst of the British weather. That's it in a nutshell.
So these can be installed inside and outside then?
Certainly can.
Great. People's power demands are just continuing to increase as we move forward. You know, everything's turning on electric. We've now got EVs, cars powering up. So as much as we kind of don't really recommend it, there is always people that want to charge their car from their actual battery system. I mean, why not use a grid at night time when it's cheaper? But we do have people out there that do want to charge. So that brings me back to kind of like the charge and discharge rates of these units. So for the 7, 8 and 10, what is the maximum charge and discharge, and what can I expect to get out from my batteries?
So as long as you have a sufficient amount of batteries, which we'll touch on shortly, the 7, 8 and 10, 7 can do 7 kilowatts charge and discharge rate, 8 can do 8, 10 can do 10.
Oh, so the name of the unit is actually the charge and discharge rate as well?
Charge and discharge rate and export limit. It's 7, 8 and 10.
So let's talk about the batteries now that are compatible with this.
Yes.
We do multiple different size batteries, but I'm fully aware that only some of them are going to be compatible with this purely because of the high charge and discharge rate. So what does that mean? Which batteries are actually going to be compatible with this?
So luckily both our 9.4 smart heated battery, the low voltage model, and the 5.12, the newly released IP66 smart heated battery. Both them will be compatible with some optional accessories to hit that high charge discharge rate.
Yep.
But yes, both compatible straight away.
But these units are going to kick out a lot of power.
They are.
So I'm guessing, you know, we can't use the standard cables that come with the batteries. I mean, is there any extra hardware we're going to need to put in between the batteries and the controllers?
There certainly is. So for a single battery, you use the standard hardware. 2 or more batteries, depending on which model you choose, will have optional hardware, which The 5.12, we will have some specialised cables available for purchase. They are 200 amp cables, and they will enable 2 or more batteries to achieve 10 kilowatts of charge and discharge. Now for the 9.4 battery, we've got a slightly different solution, which is a combiner box. So it's an optional accessory that comes with it. It's IP rated combiner box, and that will allow the 10 kilowatt charge and discharge rate once you have 2 or more batteries.
And can you use the combiner box with the 5.12 as well?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so basically, so if we're going kind of like 3 batteries and above, best practice, stick a combiner box on.
Absolutely.
Unless we're using the 5.12, which we can purchase separately, the bigger 200 amp chunkier cables.
We certainly can.
Good.
Cool. Now, so one thing I like to discuss is the amount of batteries. So because this unit can charge and discharge at a rate of the biggest unit, say for example, 10 kilowatts. So if we get a charge window of 5 hours, that means that we can have 50 kilowatts. Or if it's a charge rate of a charge window of, let's say, 6 or 7 hours, like some economy 7 tariffs, you get 70, nearly 80 kilowatts into it in that space of time. So that roughly equates to 8 of our bigger batteries.
Yep.
8 of the 9.4s.
Yep.
Or 16 of the 5.12s, and that's also the most we'd ever recommend putting on these, because you need to be able to fill them batteries up and get them charged up to the top and down to the bottom again. And having more than that would be insanely overkill, even if it were compatible.
Okay, so basically only the 5.12, 9.4 battery are compatible with these, and we also recommend using a combiner box.
That's it. 8 of the 9.4, 16 of the 5.12.
So obviously we're talking about charge and discharge rates, and we know that in some applications people are needing more and more power.
Yes.
Now with our single phase units, they can't be paralleled, so whatever you've got out of those units, that's all you get from the smaller single phase units. What about the 7, 8 and 10? Can these be parallel to increase that charge and discharge rate?
So immediately at this time, no. But we are expecting a firmware update that will enable this function possibly at the end of April, maybe moving into end of Q2, beginning of Q3.
Okay.
The firmware that enables this function will be enabled.
And for those that are out there that don't understand paralleling, what is that generally? What does that do? What does it mean?
So parallel means that we can have 1, 2 or 3 of these units working together in unison, each with its own bank of batteries. So if you've got a large site that's off grid, for example, you can have 3 of these units working together for potentially 60 kilowatts of solar with 30 kilowatts of output capabilities. You could run that's more than a standard home in the UK.
So you kind of mentioned off-grid then, so these will actually work in parallel off-grid as well?
Absolutely, so they'll work on its own off-grid, or with a future firmware update, you can have up to 3 working together off-grid. And when I say off-grid, I don't just mean installed in a normal home with a power supply that's gone off, which is technically off-grid.
Yeah.
I mean completely independently off-grid. If you've got, a remote barn somewhere that's got no power supply to it, and it's not feasible or cost-effective to, have the power company put a mains cable in, these will work completely independently off-grid. In fact, they've even got their own generator port. And as long as you have a compatible generator, this device will tell it to turn on. But that's down to the generator manufacturer.
Got it. But these working in parallel then, does that mean that obviously then you have a master unit and then you have subordinate units?
Exactly.
And do they all work together or do they work independently?
Work completely in sync.
Okay.
So essentially the emergency power supply, or EPS in short, will be synchronized, which means that you have the combined output of 3 7s, 3 8s, or 3 10s. You can't mix and match.
So I'm guessing each unit will have its own power bank underneath of batteries.
Yes.
They'll charge and discharge together, so it won't be the master does one, then it'll move to the next.
They'll all work together in tandem, otherwise you get it batteries running out at different times, and you might not have the ability to throw out as much power as possible. By keeping the systems working in synchronization, the batteries will fill up at the same time and they will empty at the same time, meaning that you have the full power output of either 2 10s, so 20 kilowatt, rather than 10, because they're working at opposite sides.
So the bottom line is, once parallel is available for these units, and the fact they've got a generator port implemented into them, these are actually pretty much an off-grid solution.
They are an off-grid solution.
Off the shelf and ready.
Off the shelf and ready. Obviously, electricians will need to install proper earthing arrangements, earth spikes, but that's down to the electricians, of course. But
so like all the rest of our HANCHU kit, comes with monitoring, app, web portal.
Yes.
Guessing this is all part of the same setup?
of course, it will install and configure for an install the exact same way, and for an end user, it will have most of the same features. It'll have a few more with it being a larger device, and there'll be some features that are come at a later date via a software update.
Okay, so I mean, in all our other units, we have weather compensation. We're compatible with Octopus Energy with some of their intelligent packages, and also other suppliers where we can utilise their cheap energy. Same with this. Is it all fully integrated with us?
Fully integrated. You might just see weather compensation coming in a little while over a firmware update, but out of the box, it's got the Octopus intelligent flux capability, and it also has the shadow scan capabilities, all the core features that make that 3.6, 5 and 6 so attractive to the market. It's the same as this. So from the front end, it will look and operate no different to our smaller units, just with a few more features at a later date.
Okay. You mentioned though earlier on that these are integrated with generators.
Yes.
Will we be able to see the generator on the app?
You will.
Okay, and we can read the power that's coming in that generator?
Certainly. So it's a pretty smart device. So like I mentioned, for standard homes who have a power cut, you can have a set level. You can also have a level which tells the system to turn that generator on, and when that generator turns on, you will see how much power is coming from that generator into the battery. So on the energy overflow diagram, where you can see how much solar's been producing, how much is being used by the home, you will also see how much is being produced by the generator. Everything's just visible as soon as the customer logs into the app.
So like our smaller units, they can be used as a hybrid with solar plugged in, but they have a great feature where they can actually be used as an AC coupled unit. So that could be someone who's already got an existing PV there, or it's somebody who might only be able to have PV and he's just looking to utilise energy from the grid. Cheap nighttime tariffs into the battery, use that during the day. Will this also have the AC coupling feature inside it?
Short answer, yes.
Why is it a short answer?
Because it can do all the same as our original 3.6, 5 and 6, just a slightly different if you're working with an existing solar system. So on our smaller unit, there's a different type of meter that gets installed. That's not compatible with this product, but there's already a solution where a measuring device can be hardwired to the inverter when it comes pre-included. So it works the same, it does it's the same outcome, slightly different energy monitoring solution, which is also included with this model.
Great.
So if you're installing this without solar, let's say you try to take advantage of Octopus Go style tariff where you get cheap overnight energy.
Yep.
This system will work out of the box. It will work without any solar whatsoever. It can work alongside, like we've mentioned, an existing solar system. You can even have it working with an existing solar system and have new solar put into it. Or you can just have it installed with new solar. All of the above is possible with this device out of the box.
So it works with or without solar basically?
With or without solar, with existing solar and any combination thereof. Oh, so one quick note on our other products, the 3.6, 5 and 6, the actual weather compensation function, for those who don't know what that is, if you've got a cheap overnight tariff, if it's going to be really sunny the next day, you don't really want to fill up your battery with energy, even if it's cheaper.
No.
You're still paying for it. So that is postcode based, and it's based on the UK weather. I'd probably say somewhere around 70% accurate. Just the same as your weatherman's about 70% accurate. Basically, that's enabled in a different manner, so it's through the My Scene function, which will later become the AI mode.
EV chargers.
Yes.
Obviously, HANCHU's got its own EV charger. Will that work alongside this?
So yeah, it'll work alongside any of our products, or it's a standalone product, and it's the same app. So quite simply, whether you've got the 3.6, 5 and 6 range, or the 7, 8 and 10, if you have an EV charger, it will display on the front of the app, and you can simply just click on it and press start charging. All the settings are enabled. There's one other great feature though that I'd like to talk about, which is sometimes when people charge their vehicles, the batteries automatically empty into the car. Now that's not always desirable. There's a simple setting that can be turned on within the app that prevent that from happening.
Okay, so I can just pull up at any time in my garden, plug my car in, and this system knows that I've plugged my car in and it won't discharge from my batteries.
Exactly. Or if Octopus say you can charge your car for free between 3 and 5 this afternoon or whatever, it will also work the same then.
Yeah, because the last thing you don't want to do is be using, from my personal point of view, is actually using battery power that you've either saved up from solar or on that cheap nighttime energy, for then your car to be using it when theoretically it should be pulling it from the grid.
Yeah, if you've got a cheap afternoon slot and you've charged your car up and your batteries have drained, then it comes to premium price again and your batteries are empty. That's not what the systems are really designed for.
It's a pretty great feature.
Just a simple feature.
We can block discharging from batteries when you're charging your car when it's meant to be cheap from the grid.
And the HANCHU EV chargers come with another benefit or two as well. One of the other benefits which a lot of people with electric vehicles love is that when the house has finished using that solar and the batteries are filled up, if they've got really good production,
Yep.
the excess energy can be diverted to the EV charger as long as it's installed with the meter it comes with.
Right. But I'm guessing you have to have a HANCHU EV charger, so
Yes.
that you couldn't use a different brand.
No, so if you install any other brand of EV charger, the one button stop discharging the batteries to the EV function will not work. We have no control over the brands, just our product.
So basically, if you're investing into a HANCHU system, keep everything HANCHU.
Yeah, it makes it simple. One app to operate everything.
So, in a nutshell then, basically this unit, we can oversize the PV up to 200%.
Yes.
So that means whatever the size of the unit is, we can double the PV input.
Yes.
Works with the 5.12 and 9.4 batteries via a combiner box if required.
Yes.
12-year warranty over all the products.
Yes.
Comes with shadow scan, which means we don't need optimizers anymore.
Correct.
All monitorable through the same HANCHU app.
Yes.
Works with EV chargers, works with off-peak tariffs.
Yes.
Works with Octopus Energy. We've got weather compensation built in there through the AI.
Off-grid ready
It's off-grid ready, yeah.
and whole home backup ready
Yeah, via our HANCHU gateway.
via the HANCHU gateway. Optional accessory required on that one. Correct.
And then also it can be installed inside and outside.
Inside and outside.
Just making sure that we've got canopies covering the
Yes.
unit and the batteries are within a cabinet.
That's correct. So
So there you go, there was the overview of the new HANCHU 7, 8 and 10 kilowatt hybrid, which is now available from Infinity Innovations.